All right, guys, welcome back.
We back.
Yes, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. That's a fact.
Yes, Market Mondays. We are back live in the flesh. A lot to cover. A lot that's been happening in the market and in the world. So
Yes.
welcome back. Welcome back, first and foremost. And secondly, make sure that you watch Blackout this Wednesday.
Yeah.
We got a lot to cover, a lot to talk about on Blackout. A lot's been happening.
Yeah, shout out to J1 last week, man. That was dope. It was his birthday.
Yes, happy belated.
Yeah, happy birthday to the bro.
And then Thursday, we got a dope episode. Living legend, one of the best to ever do it. The second of all time when it comes to 3-pointers made. James
Uno.
Fear the beard.
Uno.
Fear the beard for sure. Legend in the game, somebody that made a lot of money.
And still.
Yeah.
Big facts.
Yeah. Hundreds of millions of dollars grossed from sneaker contracts, from NBA contracts, invested in a bunch of money, in a bunch of companies.
Yeah.
Restaurants as well.
Mm-hmm. What a time.
Yeah. And
authentic too.
LA dude.
Yeah. A real one.
LA dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got some mutual acquaintances.
This is true.
You don't have too many off the court problems, huh?
Nah.
Keep everything peaceful.
You know that. So
Hard
shout out to James Harden. That episode will drop Thursday, I think at 7:00. We'll confirm the time. But
time viewing.
Check that out.
No, 8 o'clock this Thursday. Yeah.
To be determined. The time is to be determined.
Only because I got the class or so.
Or maybe we'll do it at 6:00 then. To be determined.
Y'all gonna get this one.
You're gonna see.
James Harden, that's gonna be a dope one for sure. And then Troy has his options class at 7:00. If you're in EYL University, you should definitely watch that. That's vitally important for sure.
Yeah, we got a special guest this week. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a few, but definitely tune in. We're going to continue our series of investing, especially in terms of AI. I know we did the data center economy. We did the GPU economy, and this is going to continue that series. We're going to talk about a little bit about energy. So yeah, my special guest, y'all might be familiar with.
Ian, any announcements?
Yes. If you want to get rich in the market, go to ianinvest.com. If you want to know where to invest, what to get in, where to get out, companies to stay away from, the companies for 2025 that would do incredibly well, go to ianinvest.com. Stock club prices will be out tonight at 11 p.m. Central. So set your pending orders. As of next week, stock club call will be moved to Mondays. So set your calendars, check the jobby. And if I've made you money, please put yes in chat.
Please.
It's almost December. Whew.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
It'll be December in no time.
Yeah.
So, okay. Disclaimer.
Well, y'all know how this works, man. Continue to do your own research. Shout out to everybody that is doing the research. Shout out to everybody that's sharing great research when they found it and executing on it. So y'all know how this works. Our content is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. It's very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with, or independently research and verify any information that you find on our show and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. Continue to do the research. Shout out to everybody that is in the community, Red Panda family, all our earners, love is love. And if you're on Market Mondays and you're watching this right now, you're part of that family too. So continue to do the research, y'all.
Love y'all dealing.
So let's talk from a stock standpoint. Everybody's probably watched the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. So we'll talk about that from a commentary standpoint on Blackout, probably.
Yes.
From a business standpoint, peaked at 65 million viewers. By far the most watched boxing match ever, and one of the most watched sporting events ever. Actually beat the NFC Championship game, beat the NBA Finals.
Every game combined.
So Netflix.
That's crazy.
The entire finals, so yeah.
Netflix definitely, inserted themselves as a major player in sports off just that alone. And, kind of the writing was on the wall for a long time. We had this conversation a few years ago that, streaming services would potentially be the major player in sports, as opposed to now it's like on the fringe. You have like Peacock that shows some games, and but still most games are shown on ABC, NBC, ESPN, right?
And Amazon Prime, so they got every Thursday night game.
Yeah.
But okay, from a business standpoint, how does this impact Netflix going forward? And from a stock standpoint, is this something that people should think about as far as investing in Netflix stock, which is actually up $20 today, and
killing,
up almost like 85% for the year, from its low to its high. As low as 454, its high around 850. So Netflix has done well for a very long period of time, and looks like it can continue to do well. So what's the deal?
I know a lot of people on Twitter that I was talking to was like, with the fight glitch. So Monday I want to short the stock. I begged you not to. Mistake. Put mistake in chat if you're going to short that. Like, to have 65 million people watch, those are Super Bowl-esque numbers in the early 2000s. Amazing return on investment. Like Rashad said, we'll talk about some of the lessons in it on Blackout, but Netflix is probably the media stock for this generation. Netflix and YouTube. I wouldn't short it. Probably it's going to hit 950 by middle of next year if it stays at this pace. And if you look at how they're lining this up with the addition of Monday Night Raw, even if you're not a wrestling fan, they're going to draw a big audience. Then they're going to have the Christmas game for the NFL. Well played. This reminded me a lot of when 50 told Ja not to do melodies, and then 50 came in and did the melodies and helped take down Ja's career. I think Netflix has done a brilliant job at destroying linear television and then turning their platform into a better version of linear television. Monday through Wednesday, you can watch whatever you want to on demand. And even though there were some glitches, problems are going to happen when you have that many people watching on the platform. But I guarantee they will have this fixed by the Christmas game, by the time Raw comes out. So I'm super bullish on the stock. And if you short it this morning, a spit it to Santo. I'm so
shame.
Mistake.
Yeah, I don't think you should go anything near a short on this. It's interesting when you think about the number, 65 million people watching. That's just the subscribers, right? But like that doesn't take into account that those people might be watching it with somebody. So technically, you could have had over 100 million people, which you probably did have 100 million people watching. But it's interesting to see the next move, right? So what Jake Paul and his team has done has changed boxing forever, right?
Brilliant.
Now the Floyd McGregor fight is like, there's not going to be a fight that you can do on pay-per-view that's going to surpass 65 million. Just not going to happen. And so what does boxing look like, but what does all sports look like? Because yes, you said the Christmas game, but if you watched yesterday, hey, not only are we doing Christmas games, but we got a halftime show now.
Yes.
So now Beyonce is your halftime performer on Christmas.
We
didn't even, like these, you can start to see the writings on the wall for how sports are going to be looking in terms of streaming. Who's the next league? What's the next conference that they get, right? We had this conversation in text. It was like, does Netflix now say, okay, we've got the NFL. Do we now go to college? Do we say, hey, we're going to get a team that we now put there and exclusively on? Or is it, I guess, or a conference, or is it in basketball? They already got WWE with the Endeavor, like you said, Monday Night Raw. So they're strategically doing it in a manner that just makes sense, right? Linear television, people are not watching it the same way, right? When it's just, and it doesn't matter what sport it is. I thought this year's World Series would be something very interesting. Obviously, we're having Japan's population, with Shohei Ohtani being there, but even that was a little bit underwhelming when I looked at the numbers. Like 15 million people watched it. Imagine that being on a global platform like a Netflix. So I'm interested to see which league will be the next one, or what singular event will be the next thing. They start with Christmas. Amazon did it last year with the playoffs game with the Chiefs. Let's see what happens here. Disney might start to step in. Obviously, they have ESPN already. Who's going to start making exclusive deals with teams or conferences or leagues? That'll be interesting to see.
I mean, TKO It has WWE and what other big entity in that bundle. It would have been nice to see Johnny Bones Jones kick that dude's rib cage into another universe on Netflix. Because if you look at it, if it's like $14.99 for all the movies you want and sporting events, that's a hard price to turn, or $24 a month. What the price is incomparable at that point. So I think they're doing a great job. I know Disney's pushing for the Wednesday game. So we're having a lot of tech and media wars. But as far as linear television, all that entire sector of stocks, I would not touch.
Or does it now? Is it an opportunity loss? Like you bring up the John Jones fight, and I mean, congrats to him. Probably the best of all time,
greatest of all time.
ESPN's under that umbrella when you look at who did the pay-per-view event for it. But you have over 250 million subscribers alone. On your platform. And so does that now change the model? I know he said he's not going to fight again unless the money makes sense, whether he wins or loses, which is like a boatload of money. But UFC's partnership with Endeavor might get in the way of that. But it's an opportunity, right? Go where the people are. If there's, and we've talked about this streaming war, where Netflix is at, where Disney's at. They're getting closer in terms of amount of subscribers. The people are there. Bring the events to them directly.
Absolutely. You think the NBA shotty should go to Netflix or a team or maybe all-star game? What do you think about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like most people have Netflix anyway, so that's kind of like regular TV.
Yeah,
that's why so many people watched it more so than people Peacock and Hulu, like those that aren't as big as
Paramount
Netflix.
Plus.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody has Netflix. So you know, it's one of these things where, I mean, more people watched it than they watched the NBA Finals, which is on regular television. So that goes to show you the kind of access that people already have. I guess they would just have to see if it would make sense financially to pay for those. Like, we still haven't seen how this actually works out for them financially.
True.
Because if everybody already has it and then you got to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to put it on, it's not like there was a bunch of people that probably signed up for Netflix just to get this fight.
True.
But like you said, I mean, and they might be, you know, losing money with the upping their subscription later to be like, okay, now we're going to have sports, and now the sports package is going to be $30.
Yeah.
As opposed to 20, I think the highest one right now is like $21, something like that. So they've increased their prices over the course of time. So who knows from a business standpoint, you know, how profitable it actually was for them. But yeah, I think it definitely makes sense, you know, watching everything else on Netflix. So why not watch sports on Netflix?
Yeah, it also brings the ad revenue business model in, right? So if you watch Amazon Prime, which has exclusive rights to the NFL on Thursday, I mean, you're watching the game and just commercials are just running, and it's like normal TV until you realize, like, wait, I'm trying to change the channel and I can't. Yeah. So it's interesting in that point. I wonder if they had revenue from the gate. So I know they had.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
85,000 people that were watching it live inside of Jerry World. That'd be interesting with the merchandise and what kind of splits they were given on that. So there's a few avenues inside there that they can definitely explore to find as another source of revenue.
And what an amazing job for them to crack down on the password sharing before they start to roll out these live events. Right. Like, live streaming is on fire, and then they took one of the biggest influencers, put them on a platform, and 65 million. Shout to Kai for breaking the Twitch record, but 65 million views is crazy.
That password thing was crazy. They sent you the email like, hey, your password's been compromised, and then you changed it, and then the next day it's like, all right, well, we're no more password sharing. But and that's one of those things where you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Disney, which is number 2 in the space, they watched the crackdown on password sharing. They saw the profit to the revenue go up for Netflix. 2 months later, all right, we're doing the same thing. And you just saw what they just reported last week, and you saw their earnings. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If someone's working on that side and you're in that space, all right, well, we're gonna try this as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see. What about XRP, company that I've been talking about for a while? It's been, stagnant for a long time. But favorable news came out. The CEO of Ripple, I believe, had a conversation with Donald Trump, and looks like, they could have some favorable legal decisions in their future. They've had ongoing lawsuits with the SEC for a while. So, anticipation that a pro-crypto administration
Yes.
and relationship with XRP, specifically with the Trump administration, pushed it up over like 50 cents from where it was before. Now it's over $1.
Yeah.
For the first time in a long time. So, a lot of people now are back on the XRP train and saying like it's going to go to $10 and this is it, XRP to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the deal with XRP?
Well, it helps that the rumor floating around that Gensler may not be there too much longer. So when that's your main combatant in the space, if he's not there, it will help. I talked about Vitalik, but it's smart that they went to go talk to Trump, kiss the ring, get some favor. But I think the biggest lesson I want to highlight here is if you believe in the asset, you got to hold it for 5 years. And while it was going through this consolidation phase, if people were loading up on it, your day finally came. I think there's too much conversation, and I get it because people need money in the short term, but I think there's too much conversation around what to hold for the short period of time versus the long. So kudos to everybody who held. I think last year we talked about that in Stellar. They were both due for a breakout. XRP finally had its moment. But the biggest lesson I want to highlight is to hold whatever you believe in for a 5-year period and everything will be okay. If it's a quality asset, quality fundamentals, eventually it will go up, even if it does have some pushback. And if you're too short-sighted, stop getting off the train. I'm gonna be real. If you believe in some people like, yo, what's the new 2 Tech 2 index? 2 Tech, I'm not changing it. For what? It works. So, and sometimes looking for the new thing leads you to disaster because you don't see the pitfalls and what's there to be new. So, but kudos to everybody in XRP who's held, continue to hold.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like XRP's been talked about for a long time. A lot of corporate backing and something that had potential a long time ago and then kind of got bogged down in legal trouble. But the problem with XRP has always been the amount of coins that they have available. Their market cap is just so massive that it's difficult to kind of justify $5-10. Do you think that XRP is going to be the biggest thing in the world? If you do, then this would be a good opportunity to get in, right? Because it's still early relative to what the potential would be. If you think that it has limited upside based off of historical data, charts, and theories that, market capitalization actually matters on a certain level, and less is more, and they have a tremendous amount of supply where Bitcoin is tremendously more limited, right? Which is why, from an education standpoint, if you're looking at this like, okay, Bitcoin is $90,000, XRP is $1. If I invest in XRP, this could potentially be $90,000 just like Bitcoin, right? It's understandable why you would think like that, but it's also important to provide education to it. The amount Bitcoin is a limited quantity. That's why their price goes much higher. It's like anything, right? In retail, if you're selling sneakers,
a capsule collection, yep.
Yeah, that there's only 10 of those sneakers, right? Then the odds are that, if it's the Travis Scott exclusive ASAP Ferg, ASAP Rocky edition, like somebody might bid 50,000, then that sets the price for it. And now it's only 50,000 and up from there, right? Whereas if you have Air Force Ones, good sneaker, but they make millions of those every it's going to be hard to get those over $150, right?
Yeah.
Like in Air Force Ones, unless they're like some special Louis Vuitton Air Force Ones, a regular pair of Air Force Ones are never going to cost $10,000. But millions of Air Force Ones selling for $150 is actually more profitable to Nike than 10 limited collab sneakers that sell for $10,000, right?
More profitable than any shoe.
So that's important to understand from a bit entrepreneur standpoint when you're structuring your business, to know that there's different business models. There's a limited business model, and then there's a large amount business model. But then it's also important to understand from an investment standpoint. So this is why XRP is not Bitcoin, right? Their price is you don't look at it just because they're cryptocurrency, they're the same, and that they have
there's only one Bitcoin
trajectory.
Yeah,
there's tremendously much more XRP that's in circulation. So that's what I'm saying. So even if to get to $10, it's just crazy. Last time when it got to a couple of dollars, the CEO was like the 5th richest person in the world.
Yeah, went to like
for a short
180.
period of time because that alone had risen the price. So when you're investing, just think about that. Like, don't just look at the price and say, okay, it's cheap, I'm gonna get in, and then I'm just gonna ride the wave until it gets to $100,000, and then if I put $1,000 in, I'll be a billionaire. XRP is not as limited. It's not going to do that. But if it does get to $10, then I mean it's tremendous. But I personally don't see it getting to $10. But hey, who knows? Anything is possible, I guess. We'll see.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing is that you literally said this in 2017. We had this conversation when we were figuring out what the altcoins are, and that's something that people overlook and they need to pay attention to. I'm glad you said it. Circulating supply, just give context behind those numbers. XRP, well, let's say the max supply is 100 billion. In contrast, Bitcoin, the max is 21 million, right? And the circulating supply of Bitcoin is like 19.5 million. So you can see there's going to be a cap at 21. There's 19.3 or 4 that already circulate. On the other end, you have XRP, 100 billion. Those are drastic differences where the circulating supply is about 57 billion right now. And so there's a lot of room to have more, but it's so expensive. And that's why you got to look at those things when you're talking about investing, not just price. I'm glad you said that. Was a great point.
Bitcoin number 1, Ethereum is number 2. What is 3 and what is 4 in the crypto space, in your opinion?
You know what? I've decided a long time ago, sometimes when somebody has authority in the space and they've made a living in that space, to just shut up and listen.
Billions.
Right. So when a guy like Mike Novogratz comes on and tells us, hey, it's Bitcoin, it's XRP, and I'm looking at Solana, I could argue with him and I could go back and say, I've done this research. Sometimes just shut up and listen.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to put Solana at number 3. From the things he said, then I went back and I'm looking at it. And then off camera, we talked about why he thought it again. And I'm like, he's making a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He's more experienced than I am in this space. Sometimes just shut up and listen.
But I mean, most people still don't really even know what XRP is. It's not
research.
It's not something that is widely used yet.
Are you anti-XRP, Rashad?
No. I'm not anti or pro anything. I feel like if you could make money from it, then hey, why not?
Then utilize it. Yeah.
But I just think that it's still something that
it's early.
It hasn't fulfilled its potential yet.
Yeah, 2000. I'm gonna go back to 2017 when we were up all night. These are one of the things we invested in XRP. Full disclosure, and it was like that was the first one. Obviously, we saw Bitcoin climbing, but watching XRP go from like 82 cents to making it up to, I think at one point it was at $3.50. It was like, this is it. We're out of here. We're out of here. And then obviously understanding the space, understanding crypto winter and Bitcoin, those things start taking. And now you get more familiar with the space. But it was a time. It was definitely a time. And if you were in XRP at that time, you understand exactly what I'm talking about.
And the losses that definitely hurt. But I think XRP was the first, for me, revelation that crypto was not going to be decentralized how everyone promised it would be. And oftentimes when you're a pioneer, you're going to end up with a lot of arrows in your back. And it did definitely have that issue from a lawsuit standpoint. So, but once again, biggest lesson, if you believe in the asset, hold it for a half decade, invest in the top 4 and you'll be okay. That applies to every sector. Whether it's crypto, stocks, equities, media, arbitrage, just hold for the long period. And also for everybody in the investing space, please stop beefing amongst each other about crypto versus stocks. The answer is to own all. Real estate, private equity. You notice like Citadel or Vanguard never argues about what asset class to invest in. They just acquire everything in every space.
And they own and they all own them at the same time. Right? Go look at the ownership in some of these assets. You're going to see the same
crypto
names
included.
They're not saying, hey, you own it, I can't, or I'm not going to. No, we're gonna own this together.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. Hit the like button and share, please.
Yes, with 5 people, please.
Tesla is another stock that has gone up tremendously. Post Trump and still going up.
Can we give Elon the Investor of the Year award?
Sure. another.
He moved into the top 5 of CEOs of the year.
Another good day today. So, it's on news that administration is going to focus on self-driving cars, and that was something that obviously Elon been working on for a while, champion. So
yes,
that's favorable for Tesla. They're going to try to focus on self-driving cars, and that's something that obviously will be in. So Tesla just been getting a lot of good news recently, and looks like Elon's going to have pretty much a say-so, whatever he wants to do in the White House. So
the power of networking. Do you bring this up all the time? And I know some people don't like it. He was with Trump at the Jones fight this weekend. But can we talk about how important it is in long-term relationships to stay close to the king, to able to get the return on investment that you want? Let's take the political leaning out of it. This was a brilliant ass move by Elon. Yeah, and also too, Biden, we got to bring that up. Who had the EV contract last administration? Wasn't them. Biggest the what? This the real big thing.
Yeah, stay close to the money. And Elon, he definitely positioned himself strategically to be in good graces with Donald Trump for sure. And it looks like that's paying off early dividends for him. We'll talk about his position that he created. Or we can talk about it now as far as the Doge with him at head of government efficiency.
Yeah.
Department of Government Efficiency, who he's gonna co-chair that position. So is there any threat? Because we talked about, okay, this is gonna be good for Tesla and how, is there any situation where this could potentially backfire and Tesla stock could actually fall?
Yeah, if him and Trump fall out, which I believe they will around year 3, year 2.5, year 3, they're going to have a little kerfuffle. And Trump may reverse his leaning towards the EV community. But for those first 2 years, the honeymoon period they're going to have, they'll be A-okay. But I believe if they get into a war or an ego match with each other, it won't fare well for Tesla. But SpaceX IPO probably will come a little bit sooner. Starlink will come a little bit sooner because now I have 3 of the biggest publicly traded companies on the market. That's the real, Elon is setting up for him to be his own personal Vanguard or BlackRock. What is that worth if I bundle up Starlink, Neuralink, the Bourne company, and SpaceX all into one? I mean, so yeah, could there be some blowback? For sure, once they get into it. But for the first 2 years, I think Tesla will be okay. And also too, how many more government contracts or subsidies will he get as a result of being buddy with Trump?
That's the interesting part. I think he stays. I mean, he definitely has stayed close and has definitely benefited. As long as policy is in his favor, I think he'll be good, right? As long as deregulation is in his favor. Why wouldn't he just be like, all right, this is great?
When I saw that headline, I said, Elon.
It just makes too much sense. Now you got the talk of SpaceX IPOing. I think they estimated at $257 billion.
135 a share minimum.
Yeah, you stay close until everything in your favor has worked out. And even if you have a dispute, the policies are in place, right? That's going to take some time for it to even be challenged or for it to be broken. But the manner at which he's traveling, it is unprecedented, right? When you watch him at the fight, it's everybody. RFK's there, the whole team is there. But it brings up a question, and I got asked this over the weekend about moral investing. and it's people watch watch that whole process. They watch him campaigning, and they didn't agree with his political stance. And so there were a few people that was like, you know what, I made money, I sold my shares because sometimes I can't agree with him morally. And so I was like, I get it. I understand that standpoint. And they were like, you know what? I know the money and the stock is going up, but some things are more important to me than money. And so I want to throw that to y'all because we spoke about that a few times ago. I kind of know what you're gonna lean, but in terms of moral investing, what's your thoughts around a company like Tesla and people who are like, hey, I don't agree with the CEO?
I don't believe in investing in prisons or anything that harms Black people. But when I was telling everybody about Elon's villain arc and his strategic plan to become the person that runs the country, everyone called me a conspiracy theorist. So how can you morally, I'm gonna be real, if he's morally inept, he's been doing the same shit for 15 years. He hasn't hidden his desires at all. So I get it now because he's next to Trump. Let's be very honest though. This is how, there are no clean Fortune 500 companies that are publicly traded.
But I think he's more vocal now than he was before. He has a bigger platform, which is Twitter, which is his whole platform.
Gotta get a return.
He's weaponized his platform. He's, I don't think he's...
Isn't that what platforms are for? Not to cut you off, but...
No, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
10 years ago, people didn't know. It's like Trump. Like, people didn't know in 1996 because he wasn't as publicly vocal as he is now, right? So a lot of people supported, a lot of rappers supported him, but they say, like, this is a different person. Now, he might have been the same person internally, but you didn't know that, right? Because he didn't...
That's what happens when you don't do the research, though. I mean, Central Park 5 was there for Trump.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying, Elon, I feel like he has ramped up his rhetoric. He ramped it up, right? Like he's always been, weird, said different things, stuff like that. But what he's done over the last couple of years is different.
I mean, he's definitely taken it to a blackout. They're calling you shotgun shotty now.
Well,
so he definitely took it to a shotgun. Yeah, for real.
It's already shoddy.
I said, that's good. Double barrel. I mean, has he leveled it up yet? But if you go back to what happened with him and PayPal Mafia, it's part of the reason why they end up having some blow-ups inside of their inner circle and why him and Reid Hoffman may not have the closest relationship ever. And I'll say this too, like if you go read, you can see the leanings and there are tales that are there. And if you talk to anybody who's ever worked at any of his companies, not the easiest place to work to if you're African American. This isn't my thoughts. These are the people that I've talked to that have worked. It's like, I'm gonna be real. Some of y'all just need to go read and do the fucking research and not get everything off IG. Like if you limit your research to Instagram, you're gonna be in trouble. But the purpose of getting money is Medici rule is to get power and then the power to protect the money. He's just following the American blueprint. Is he more vocal about it? Yes. But moral investing, if you wanted to find a publicly traded company to invest in, there would be none on that list, including Apple, Microsoft, back in the day, Nike. There are no 100%.
But then it also depends on what your morals are. So if your morals are like, I'm not going to support somebody who's I think is publicly a racist, that's different from saying I'm not going to support a company that hires labor for cheaper than minimum wage, right? So everybody's morals are different. So I say, like, I don't really. You could do whatever you want to do. That's the good thing about investing, is that you're not forced to invest in any company, and you can make political stances. You can make economic stances if you choose to. So I'm kind of indifferent to it. I feel like if you feel like this doesn't fit right with your moral compass, then don't invest. It's not the only company in the world. Yeah, it's up a lot right now, but you're not the only opportunity to make money. So, never do something that you don't feel comfortable doing. So, if you don't feel comfortable investing in Tesla because you feel uncomfortable with Elon Musk, then that's fine. And if you do feel comfortable because you feel like, it's money at the end of the day, then, I don't think anybody's going to judge you for that either. Like, make it
also, too, when people say that, go look at the history of the companies that you work for. I've said this before 2 years ago. Some of you guys have criticized the companies that we talk about to invest in publicly, but the companies that you work for are literally murderers and terrorists. I mean, or you may work for Kellogg and you're poisoning kids and causing ADHD, or allegedly.
when I got asked the question, it made me think of like some of the things from a moral standpoint, right? So you brought up private prisons, right? But if you look at the election, what sector or what area of companies have gone up since the election? Those are going up double what Tesla's done, right? Like 75%, 85%. It's like somebody's making money on that.
Absolutely.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, but again, it does a kind of like, what are your moral fabrics, and is money your ultimate goal, right? If it is, then you're just going to invest to try to make money. So
I think you do have to have a moral compass, but you have to realize like there's some fluidity and morality. There's a bunch of people who will, like, it's not talked about publicly. There is some people who are pro, for lack of a better term, racist stocks because it's going to add to the PE of the company. I don't believe in doing that. Y'all can stop with that rumor that Michael Jordan invested in private prisons. That was the white Michael Jordan, not the one that played for the Bulls. If you go research again, opposed to just looking on Instagram. So, but you can find flaws in every company, but I think you have to put your moral leanings first. And if you listen to me, man, you'll be able to make some money. Or if you go to eaninvest.com, prices will be out. And I'll tell you some companies to invest in that will not make you sacrifice your religious or moral leanings.
Private prisons being traded on the stock market. Think about that.
It's the American way. It's the American way.
Wow.
And I know some of y'all had an issue with me saying, hey, half pound of weed, you're going to go to jail, da-da-da. Okay, he talking about cartels. If you get some of your product from the cartel, you don't think that, what do I know? What do I know? And then for the Sackler family not to go to jail, cool. Y'all be too righteous in them comments.
How you feel about Trump's cabinet so far? It's all white people.
It's the American way. If you black, for sure. If you black, for sure. Hey, top inauguration gonna look like Nashville. Hawk 2 are gonna be there.
What do you think about people that say, like, well,
you said Hawk 2 is going?
It doesn't matter. What people that say like race doesn't matter. As long as you get the best person that's for the job, qualified for the job.
Cap. Like you already seeing an uptick in the boldness of some of the people who are pro MAGA or are pro racism. But I mean, why are we surprised? Like Trump has done what Trump is. The thing that I do like about his moral compass is that he's very consistent in his compass not leaning one way. So you know what to expect. Like anyone who did anybody think he was going to pick Umar for the Department of Education? Like, let's call a spade a spade. It's fucking damn near December. The Democratic Party should have done better. So when y'all got mad when we were saying the Democratic Party should have done better, if you don't do better when you play ball, this is what happens. Now you got to watch the confetti come down from the MAGA parade. Now they're more empowered and bolstered on social media. Cool. Don't like it, but what can you do? I think the Democrats should have had a different plan. And one day, B613 ain't called me yet. I haven't got clearance from the agency. One day we're going to talk about this Democratic infighting. Y'all were the reason she lost. No unity. So, but yeah, it's cabinet going to be white as hell.
Unless Byron Donalds or Tim Scott figure out a role for them.
Y'all better come to Invest Fest. Y'all have a better chance. I don't even know if they'll go to the inauguration.
No, they're gonna be there. Those guys will be there.
All in the back. No pun intended. You're gonna be in the back. Hey, come on now.
They'll be sitting right next to Amber Rose and Ray J.
Amber gonna be white on the inauguration. You know that 2% Cape Verdean she is. That's gone, my boy. Shout out to Amber.
Oh man,
she went from black and yellow to all red and white. I ain't mad at you. Get that bag.
By any means.
Yep.
Eli Lilly. Stock peaked at $972. Mm-hmm. Now it's around $718. 26% drop.
Mm-hmm.
So we always talk about 20% drops is always a good indicator to start buying. So Is it reason for concern, or is it just a buying opportunity?
I know a lot of people are concerned if RFK is going to adjust or cause the entire pharma space to fall apart. There's a phrase I want you to look up today. It's called political lobbying, and who contributes the most. They're one of the organizations or sectors that contribute the most. Lilly will be fine. I put this price in Stock Club a month ago. This touched around Friday. I knew this is going to happen. This is more of a buying opportunity. And now if it got to 672, I would be elated. I'm not saying that it will, but 672 I would love. But when a stock goes up this, like in November of last year, it was 579. It went on a tear. Great. But a great lesson is to look up what the quarterly ranges are for stocks in the sector. And then look at, did Lilly get above that average range? And if so, are they coming back to the normal range that they should be in? So they're really just pulling back to the levels that they should be in. There was some exuberance in the pricing of the stock. Lilly would be fine. Now, some other ones in the space, probably not. They'll probably have some issues, but Lilly and Novo will be absolutely okay going forward.
They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Everybody can just relax. Like you said, it is an opportunity. When you're 1 and 2 in the space, and those two are, I'm glad you said Novo. And we spoke about them about 2 weeks ago. Those are number 1 and 2 in the space by far. And so you saw a slight pullback, obviously, with the election and the RFK part, but there's a part where they reported their earnings, and there was some misses on their 2 most prominent products, one being Zepbound, the other being Mounjaro. Zepbound for weight loss, right? Most people think weight loss, they think Ozempic. That is a Novo product. Zepbound is the Eli Lilly product. Mounjaro is its diabetes drug. And so they had a slight miss on that, which is understandable. We can see everything that's happening in that space this year, but they'll be fine. In fact, in terms of those 2 products, it's great, but they also have, and most people don't even realize, there's only 2 Alzheimer's drugs on the market, and they own one of them. And so you got a portfolio of products. That's why it's going to be a strong company. That's why it's going nowhere. That's why you don't worry when you see a pullback. You take advantage of the opportunity.
And so I quit investing at an all-time high. I don't care what the asset is. Bitcoin, us, NBA. I don't like when it's 3%, 5% from the all-time high. It's not the time to buy it. I don't care how much fanfare or hype is around an asset. It's going to pull back at some point.
Tell them the percentage again.
20% drop is a buying place, but if it's like 5% from the high, like no, you gotta let it go. Gotta let it go. But what do I know?
So Eli Lilly or Novo, which one is a better company?
Lilly, for sure. Better management, better product management, better moats. Homework assignment for everyone. What are the 5 things that makes Eli Lilly the strongest pharmaceutical company in the last decade of American business? Dig deep. Use ChatGPT if you need help. 01 reasoning. It'll definitely help a lot. But like once you figure out what those competitive advantages are, they'll be okay. Are there things that can improve upon? Yes. I would love one more hit drug from them, but that team and organization in Indianapolis is one of the best run ever. So, yeah. I know the Chiefs fell yesterday, but Lilly won't fall to Buffalo. And the Chiefs will be fine. I saw some of the pundits. It's over for the Chiefs there. I'm like, bro, it's one game. One game.
First loss. Like, what?
Chill out. Chill out.
Yeah. I think you take both. I think if you're looking at healthcare, and that's the interesting part. When you look at the space and when you read a bunch of analysts and you watch pundits in the space, the top 2 in the space don't change. You can reverse order. It's like, I guess it would be like the Chiefs and the Lions, both are 9-1. Who's the best team? Well, they're both 9-1. They're both great teams right now. One's a Super Bowl champion, which I would say would be Lilly right now, but they're both great companies. So 1 and 2. My first choice would be Lilly for some of the reasons that you named in terms of product space. I think their products are more readily used right now. And obviously, Novo, we spoke about the dependence that a country has on it. And so when it starts getting competitors, then you start seeing other people come into space. What do you now have to compete with it? I know they have other products as well, just not as prominently used throughout the United States.
Eli Lilly's at $717.82 as of now. The stock has went up $601 in the last 5 years. A lot of these mistakes and questions that y'all ask will go away if you hold for a half decade. I don't care if you want to be with one of the people that add to Bernice's 30,000 in 1 week. Y'all need to stop tricking off y'all money on a bunch of shit and put your money into these companies. And if you don't, inflation will get higher. You'll see more all-white cabinets. And listen, I'm going to be real. RFK, Elon, Trump, they're moving how they're supposed to move. The issue is that we don't do it. We want to tear down our greats so fast, including us, so fast and not get. Rashad told we tried to get to the White House and get y'all to play. Okay. All them commentary pieces. Now we got Big MAGA in that administration. Hey, what do I know? But hold for 5 years. A lot of these dumbass questions, these are jokes written by 85 South, goes away. If you hold for, put it in chat, hold for 5 years. Hold for 5. Even some of y'all messaged me in Stock Club. Yo, this information is dated. No, this shit timeless. We're buying the same ones over and over again. There's a reason why after the Steve Harvey interview, they didn't go sell that shit to Adam 22. Hold for 5. How long y'all have had the business? God, man. Yo, quit fucking up. Y'all don't hold on to a bad 6-year relationship and sell Lilly in 2 weeks. What? Sell it to me. I'll buy it off you. But what do I know?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's important.
Guys on the internet.
It's important to people to understand as far as holding investments.
Have to.
Something that is vitally important. And, a lot of times you get impatient and you sell because you think you're not making enough money, or you lose money, or you could make more money doing something else. And, just having the fortitude to just be patient and not sell your investment is actually one of the best things, whether it's real estate, whether it's stocks, whether it's crypto,
IP.
Yeah, for sure. A bunch of different stuff. So, one of these things, right? Like even for when I first bought Bitcoin, it was $6,000 per coin. And now granted, at that time, I didn't have a tremendous amount of disposable income where I could have just bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin. So in the grand scheme of things, it wouldn't have tremendously changed my life. But I say that to say this. I bought Bitcoin when it was at 6,000. Shout out to my man Jay. He was telling me about Bitcoin. It's an unfortunate situation for him because he was one of these people that was actually championing it early on, and he ended up selling his Bitcoin. That's a different story. But long story short, I bought Bitcoin at 6,000. Then I started buying all these other altcoins, XRP and Litecoin.
Litecoin was on fire back then, right?
Yeah, and
Charlie Lee.
there was a bunch of these different coins. But long story short is this. In order to buy those coins, at that time you had to use Bitcoin to buy the other coins.
To buy it. Yep.
So it was like a lot of Bitcoin that was being purchased and then being liquidated to buy other altcoins. And most of those altcoins are not even worth anything anymore.
Yep.
So in hindsight, what would have been tremendously more beneficial was just to buy as many or as much, because you don't even have to buy a whole Bitcoin, but as much Bitcoin as possible at $5,000, because now Bitcoin is $90,000. And I remember even at 5,000, people were like, yo, why is it worth $5,000? This is crazy. And then they got to 15 and they got to 20.
Same arguments,
So sometimes you just got to hold. Everything doesn't work out, but sometimes it does work out. And then it's like, if you don't hold, then you're not going to be able to reap the rewards of what it actually is going to do down the road. So having patience and just, holding is one of the most important aspects. It's in the 10 commandments. It's in the 10 commandments of investing that I said.
Yes.
So that's something that's important for people to kind of really just wrap their brains around, because most people, are not going to do that for a variety of different reasons. They're going to make money and then they're going to they're going to go on vacation, or they're going to think that they can do better somewhere else, or they're going to be like, this is moving too slow. I need to get out. It happens to everybody. It happens to the
All
rest of us.
mistakes, yeah.
So just hold it, and then that alone could probably make you a lot of money.
Easily. Yeah. That's great. And then at that time, and it might not be true anymore, I'm pretty sure it isn't, but it was like, yeah, you had to buy Bitcoin or things were moving on the Ethereum platform. So you had to get Ether to buy these other altcoins. And the platform that you were using, there was only two really that we at that time. It was like either you're using Coinbase or you're using Binance, until you realize that Binance had its own coin, and then in order to trade there, you could use Binance. And so now it's like, wait, why don't you just invest in the entire brokerage, right? And so like these things, if you watch Binance Coin, like people are trading like Coinbase, yes, is American, but like Binance became an international thing. Before they had a Binance America, and then obviously with all the lawsuits. But like these are different ways that you can look at the space and say, if it's not going anywhere, yes, I'm investing in Bitcoin. Yes, I'm in the top 2, but I'm going to invest in the platforms that trade on them. Look what's happened to Coinbase in our market over the past 2 years. So there's always opportunities. We just got to see them as opportunities and be patient with them. Please just be patient. Please.
You have to realize the entire world is designed for you to make money, for them to find a way to arbitrage it out of your pocket. Like even I see on Instagram, a lot of people say, well, it's better to spend money on experiences than on things. And I'm like, that's a hell of a finesse to sell you some shit that you never get to hold forever. Great marketing campaign. Here, take this Ether. And the crazy part, you'll take all these photos and these experiences and never look at them again. Okay, cool. Jerry Jones has not sold his stake, and the Cowboys, Bus family has not sold their stake. And the Lakers, you don't have to believe me, Mark Cuban just sold his stake in the Mavericks after 28 years? People are holding assets for a long period of time. They're not holding them for 2 or 3 years. And if you need to make more money in the short term, get another job, become an entrepreneur, learn how to trade, all have considerable risk. But to sell an asset early, like look at Ronald Wayne. He was the third investor in Apple, cost him trillion. Like he owned a third of Apple. Sold out of that shit for 60 grand. The third NVIDIA investor, same story, not holding, at least in this decade, and because of the show, to hold for a long period of time. In 1973, you didn't know to hold an asset for that long, but there's no excuse now. So,
fact.
Yeah. And we need to get a coalition in our community, in our culture. Who owns the trademark on the word? No, I'm joking. But we do need to get a group of us together that can have influence in the White House the same way Elon has. Some of you be like, money isn't everything. He bought his way to the presidency.
Right next to him. Same night, same fight.
Same fight. This the other shot Skinny Burns. This is the other fight night. What? I said, oh, okay. I'm not mad. Not mad. Democrats, when y'all find y'all next star, let me know. I'm gonna start my contributions early.
Super Micro. What's up with them?
Dead. I'm not saying. Listen.
Here we go. All right, let's do this thing. Go ahead.
I keep saying, everyone. Okay, who is the founder of Supermicro? Who's the CEO? Who's the CFO? Who are the top 15 people that they sell to? I get it. You want gains. I'm not mad at that. But if you can't answer those questions as you're investing in the asset, man, listen. I'm gonna be real. I'm glad they avoided the delisting, but I'm not investing in a company that's cooking the books. I'm not doing it. I'm fair. So I'm gonna be real. I'll put money in Intel before I will Supermicro.
That's fair.
Proudly. I mean, there's a company you're gonna talk about, things are in their favor, but if we're gonna be real, this industry plant, freaking frack. This company should have never been this high anyway. But it's a great lesson, and if the fundamentals don't match, you're gonna pay. So yeah, don't love the company. I'm not gonna say it's dead because I think they'll stay around, they'll stay afloat, but I think this company is uninvestable at this time.
All right, so I'll answer the first question of who's invested in them, and I think we can't go this long without talking about NVIDIA, right? Like this Wednesday, I feel like every quarter it's the most important company that reports, and I'll be watching very closely, and I think everybody should be watching it very closely about how they describe or if they describe their relationship with Supermicro, which is one of their partners, because if they announce that they have eased that relationship, that's a telltale sign that this company is going to drop even further.
Facts.
If they say nothing about it and there's a continuation of relationship, yes, I think Supermicro stays around. I don't know if you'll see a great climb, but the fact that they escaped, I'll use the word escaped, the delisting, which was happening on Saturday, was a miracle, because all reports had them saying, hey, we got to delay this. And if you don't have it by the 16th, you're going to face your second delisting. And they reported. We haven't seen the papers. The 10K. So we don't know what it's on them. But I think the most important piece now is to watch what happens Wednesday. Because if NVIDIA does say it, that they have eased relationships, there are companies out there that are going to step up and step in and fill in their place. We spoke about one last week. In fact, if you're an earner, I'll put that in the community today.
Yep.
There's a company you should be definitely watching. Now, in terms of also what you should be watching, and I know they do these things around earnings. Now there's some issues around Blackwell, and those GPUs are overheating and they need new server racks for them. Well, that same company is making those server racks, so they can actually solve two problems to help NVIDIA. So I don't think they're done yet. The same way I said they're keeping Intel alive, and you can see they're still keeping Intel alive. Wednesday will determine the vital signs of Supermicro.
Even though Intel mismanaged their product line and didn't innovate as fast, the thing I can commend them for is never lying. Like, if it's just a major red flag and I can see if you're off by a couple percentage, but to this kind of egregious reporting, Mike, this is Enron level, not the NVIDIA thing.
There's a part though. Inside of this run up, this year has been incredible for them. They did a 10-to-1 split. So what numbers did they have to report to NASDAQ to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's the plans to have this stock split.
Would you do a 10-to-1 split? That's like selling the equitable interest in your business at 90% of it when you're the hottest thing on earth. It's a mistake. It was some telltale signs. Why would you want to split then?
At over 1,000? Well, for a number of reasons, right? The first one is obviously you want more people invested in it because it's at a lower price. But I'm saying from a regulatory standpoint, they have to submit paperwork in order to do that. So from a regulatory standpoint, who saw that paperwork and didn't raise?
Great point.
There,
the agencies,
right?
Yeah.
The same agent. Who was that? Who were the auditors that saw that and said, "Okay, approve 10-to-1"?
I don't know, but I don't want any war with them. So I'm blaming. Like, come on, like this misreporting this egregiously is no for me. It's on. Once again, I would invest in Intel before I did SMCI. I don't give a fuck if Steve Jobs came back and ran a company. Can't do it. Cannot do it. And I think if NVIDIA doesn't state the restructuring of their relationship, it won't be good. It will not be good. But that company that you're going to mention.
Yeah, we're going to say that for Thursday. Yes. But Micro was up today.
Great.
So maybe there's something. We'll see.
What's that song? We fall down, but we get up. Okay, good Monday. We'll see Wednesday. When Jensen said that we breaking up, whoo, baby. Yeah.
What's okay? VST stock has tripled over the last year.
Hey, everybody needs to write this in their notes right now. This is one of them segments. This is gonna be one of them segments.
Yeah. There's a interesting thing when a sector, I think the big lesson here is when a sector takes off, you need to look at the companies that may supply or have partnership with. Shout out to you. Yeah, they're up 256% for this year. The nuclear space took off on Stock Club Club. We talked about couldn't find a company to invest in the space that had not been bought or had not run off. But I think they're one of the best in class. Do I still like this company? Yes. Or do I wish I could have got in earlier? Yes. November last year is at $39. It's at 147 now. So now, even though I love the company, it's too high of a premium to pay. Amazing company, a lot more upside, but you still have to be a disciplined investor. I like it if it drops back to, if it gets to 117, I'll load up. If it gets to 121, I will look to take probably a swing trade there. But when looking at different sectors or the sectors that may supply the all-star sector, I think it's really important to do your research and look at the top 20 in the space and to see who could rise up as a result. But hell of a job, great profit margin, great business model, great management, home run for sure.
The best performing stock this year is Vistra Corp. And there's a number of reasons, and this ties back into AI. This is the power of AI. Like this,
absolutely.
When we talk, we can talk about the chips and we can talk about the servers. This is also an aspect of it that needs to be talked about, and that is the energy that it's going to cost to do it.
Yeah.
And we spoke about it before. What is the most efficient way to do it as far as energy? And that's going to be nuclear. And so Vistra is the second largest owner of independent nuclear power plants, positioning itself to benefit from AI data centers for electricity. The number one is a company that you might have heard of, and we spoke about, Constellation. And if you watch what Constellation did about 2 months ago, they partnered with a company named Microsoft. Why? To build efficient data centers and be able to power them. So what has Vistra done as far as clients? They've got Alphabet, so Google is working with them, and Amazon is working with them, right? So if we look at that Mag 7, that's 2 out of the 3, right? That's 2 out of the 7 right there, right? The interesting part is that one of the deals that they had with Amazon was actually rejected by the DOJ. But the fact that there is going to be a new administration in place starting in January is probably going to get overturned for all looks of it in terms of the growth of the space. And so Vistra is, even though it has outperformed, it's up 288% this year. For a company that you weren't even talking about 12 months ago, it's up 288% this year. There's still room here. Yes, don't get it at an all-time high, but there's still room here if we believe the AI story, if we believe that energy is going to be at the forefront of the AI story, and if we believe the number 1 and 2 are going to be prominent in that story. You got to have this company on your watch list at bare minimum.
Yeah, and profit margin.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And for that space, the profit margin is 13.14%. It may not be as much as Apple because they're tech leaning or Nvidia, but for like the space that they're in, 13% profit margin, solid, very solid. And going back to that, invest in the top 2 in the space rule of thumb. You always follow that. So, but if you missed out, wait for the next sector or begin to do research on the suppliers that may help Vistra be an amazing company to find the next breakout star.
What about HIMS?
I like this. I think this is a great question. It's pharmaceutical adjacent. There's a lot of the companies that have popped up when the licenses expired. They took advantage of it. I know they've had a good run. In 2020, they got to an all-time high, and they're getting back to that space. If you invested in 22 or early 23, great. I wouldn't touch it now. I wouldn't. I need to buy it at $8.50, something like that. But leadership is getting better. Regulatory environment probably would favor them. But anytime when you have Novo and Lilly as a competitor, it's going to be kind of tough. In that healthcare space, I've always liked Stryker. So for those of you who work in the hospitals, they, I think, have like a legal monopoly on the beds and some of the equipment there. Better investment. But if I can get HIMS at 850, I like it a lot. But in the 20s or even 15, I wouldn't touch it because they had that dramatic fall in 2020. So good company, good prospects for the future. But no, I wouldn't touch it at this price.
Yeah, it's up 117% this year. I'll say this: all healthcare is not created equal.
Equal, I agree.
Right. So when we talk about Lilly, we talk about Novo. Those are specific, and we can define the things that they have as under their profile. Right. Like we can talk about diabetes. We can talk about weight loss,
and multi-year track record on top of it.
Multi-year track record. Hims is in a telehealth sector inside of healthcare.
Yeah.
So hair loss is big for them. Erectile dysfunction pills. You've probably seen the commercials and just didn't even realize it. But like, that's their area. But the competition is still there, right? When you think of who has come into healthcare, where it has that direct to consumer order model. I mean, Amazon has stepped into space. They're here.
Tough competition.
They're here.
Yeah.
Right. And they're not trying to decrease their footing in the space. They're actually trying to
increase
inside the telehealth space. So that becomes an issue. GoodRx, the company we spoke about, another one that's in that telehealth space that has virtual consultants. So you got to start looking at what is the competitive moat here. It gets very thin. And once I start seeing Amazon in a space, I know companies do it, but as an investor, I'm like, all right, this isn't good for the company, because at any point you can't compete with that type of market cap.
And a great question to always ask is this company better than the leader? Right. Once you take the emotion out of it, clearly it's not better than Nvidia. It's not better than, and you, even though Pfizer has had a fall, with their fall and the rise of Hims, no pun intended, Pfizer is still a better company. So you may be fourth, fifth, maybe. No.
Yeah.
One and two. Good, but if you were in it, $8-9, great swing trade, great. But also, if a company goes up 121%, there's a difference between doing that off of a low, or you're continuing to grow like how Nvidia will year over year, 80 to 115%. So,
do you think that the government will stop the failure of Intel?
That's a great question. If Supermicro gets decoupled from Nvidia, I think there could be an intervention, because going back to my point, like we're investing in the companies that move the GDP. We're not in a position where we can lose a bunch of American assets. Now, the TSM Arizona thing that we were talking about prior to,
let's talk about it.
Yeah. But I don't think America in its weakened state economically can afford to lose a mega brand right now. It will affect the GDP. So I think they will intervene for sure.
Yeah, when you look at the CHIPS Act and you look who's being awarded the grants and you look at who the leader is, they're there, which is a telltale sign that we're not going to let this thing die on our watch. But the TSM, they just got approved and awarded another $6 billion. The total allocation now for the investment is $65 billion for their foundries that are going to be built in Arizona. In fact, one interesting thing, and what we were alluding to prior to starting this, was that it's not TSM, it's actually a subsidiary of it, right? So TSM will own the foundries, but it's actually TSM Arizona. So those plants coming stateside kind of eases. I think the completion date for all three now is 2030 or maybe 2029, but that sort of eases, hopefully, if they can, we can get there without any invasion, without any geopolitical tensions between China and Taiwan. By 2030, it's like, all right, well, we good. We got our foundries here. In fact, they can produce enough for our supply, and eventually, I'm sure that they'll try to ease it to where now they can actually start exporting some of that as well. And Intel will play a role. They'll figure out a way to have Intel have the technology to now compete with the future of the industry, right? Their legacy brand, we talked about the nanometers and the wafers that they're built on. They haven't caught up to it, but there's a reason they're keeping them alive. Either they're going to have them merge, or they're going to approve them being acquired by a company.
By someone, What I'm looking for is acquisition or a leader to come in and say, here are the mistakes that we made. Same issue with IBM. Here are the mistakes that we made. Here's our plan to fix it. And here's a team that we put together that has had a history or historical track record of turning these kind of situations around. I'll be fine with it. I don't need them to do like Doc Rivers and just say everything gonna be okay.
It's not. And then the CPU space, not the GPU space. So like when we're comparing NVIDIA, there's not a comparison. They don't even make the same product, but they are getting beat down in the CPU space by AMD. Beat down.
Dramatically, yes.
Like embarrassingly beat down inside the CPU space.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about NFTs. Skyrocketed last week, 95% increase.
Damn.
For weekly resurgence as far as buyers for NFTs, largely based on the crypto boom that we've seen. So NFTs, something that people haven't talked about in a couple of years. Will we see NFT market go back crazy again?
Maybe, but I'll set my money on fire for content before I invest in NFT. I'll put my money in Supermicro before I will in NFT. And if this administration get y'all to buy monkeys and apes with chains on them again, I'm gonna cuss every one of y'all out when y'all see them. I don't care about the fucking white people that you saw. Yo, you don't get it, King. You don't buy into the vision. It's tied to the Cumcoin Ethereum system, bro.
The mutation, the green slime one,
bro. Stop. Talk about we'll talk about the Tyson and Jake Paul heist. That NFT heist was one of the greatest robberies legally I ever seen in life. Like next to being the Federal Reserve and be able to print when you want to. Woo, boy, that Bored Ape Yacht Club. But if they get to Senior Trump in time, maybe we'll have a slight resurgence. But once again, I think it's uninvestable. I know some of y'all clowned me last time. I was right, and then y'all be quiet as hell about that. But will we see a pop? Yes. And the biggest thing that I've learned these last 4 or 5 years is that people want to be able to make money very easily without doing any research. And it may work short term. Long term, you're going to pay hell for it. So will it bounce maybe the next 2 weeks? Maybe. But 2 years from now, will it be viable? I don't think so. I don't think so.
What about the metaverse?
Metaverse having some issues still. Like I don't see mass adoption, but in the future, could it take off? Yeah. One day I'm gonna do a deep dive about the whole Oculus Lucky Palmer versus Mark Zuckerberg battle and what really caused that stir up. But metaverse is still, well, if you look at it at a macro scale, if you're on IG, YouTube, Netflix, that is a small metaverse that we're in that eats up a majority of our time. But the actual metaverse that is provided by the glasses, not there yet. Will be soon. But if you do like Lucky planned and take it business to government and for war propaganda, a lot of use cases. Some of y'all playing 2K, y'all need to go sign up and fight in Syria from your crib. Control one of them Elon robots that he got made.
That's a smooth transition, right? Like Zuck really made a smooth transition out of that.
He did,
right? The $50 billion investment play it's not even mentioned anymore. It's like water under the bridge. Yeah, we made some mistakes, so we're gonna focus on some other things. AI is the new thing.
I think he was just too early. Had AI come out first and then he introduced the metaverse, like you need a platform to launch these things, the concept off of. I think he was too early, if you will.
Does he double back though?
Oh yeah, at some point for sure. Yeah, for sure. Maybe 5 or 6 years.
Do the double back.
Yeah, one of the greatest turnarounds though everyone who lost their jobs, I feel bad for you, but like for him to turn the company around, become more likable, focus their products, make them a lot cleaner. Ad platform is getting better.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a turnaround. But it's also a good lesson too. You can't take everyone's idea and then work your way up to the top. You would think with the ecosystem that they have, that product would have been a hit. Doesn't matter how many users you have if it's not genuinely your idea, not your IP. And then as a result, you make a enemy out of Lucky and Andrew.
But that sounds like the blueprint for Facebook. What you just described.
Work one time until you run into T-Boy.
Try to run the play again.
At some point, that was Dirk's mistake. Did work first time, second time, not so much.
Allegedly.
Thank you. Yeah. So you can only steal so much, man.
What do you feel about Evercore's list of tech stocks to invest in?
I mean, I get it. I'm not in love with any of them. IPH is solid. Of course, Apple is good, but I don't even really love Apple to be my favorite pick of 2025. I'll probably do my list before year ends for sure, but I'm going to be honest. I like Evercore, but I didn't see any companies on here that I just thought was going to be a flat out killer in 2025. So as I'm doing my research, give me maybe 2 or 3 more weeks and I'll have my list, but I didn't see anything on here that stood out that was going to be a clear winner. And as the landscape changes and as some of the data comes in from this political cycle, I think we'll have a better idea. But nothing on here stood out to me as a guarantee. I mean, if IBM, I won't even talk about that.
I think that was an interesting one.
Cap. Not going to be the stock of 2025. And don't get me wrong, IBM has done well. The hidden highs, and most of the gains from the AI space have been milked in, and they may be a laggard, but I don't see IBM having a blockbuster year. Even though they have a partnership with AMD, I love that move, but I don't see them being the stock of 2025 for sure. So, but I do like IBM better than Intel for sure.
Top book pick for 2024. I'll start this off by shamelessly plugging our book.
Good transition.
Because why wouldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
It's not out yet, but it comes out in January 14th. And right now we're actually reading the Audible. Like when you do a book, you
saw you in the studio.
Yeah, it's a very tedious process. But it's good to kind of just go over the book again. You know, when you read it out loud, it's better reading retention rate a lot of times. And, you know, this book is 2 years in the making. So some of the stuff kind of forgot that was actually even in the book. But, you know, that's my pick because we get to actually use real life examples. How the book was actually written was from different people's perspective. It's like 7 different people's perspective. And like one person is a single mom, one person is just graduating from college, one person is a senior executive. So, and they each have different life trajectories and they each have different goals, what they're trying to do. So each person is like given a different, you know, scenario and they have to figure it out. And we used, you know, budgeting models. We used like investing, ETFs, real estate, you know, duplex homes, like different pathways to wealth building. So unique take on finance literature and done in a way that's engaging because it has real life examples from real world people, not just us telling you like invest your money in index funds, you know, do this, buy real estate. I mean, of course, you know, you're
written by the people for the people.
For sure. That's a fact.
You know them guys.
Yeah.
You can get the pre-order now. You deserve to be richbook.com if you're interested in the pre-order. And it comes out January 14th. And that is my book of the year, even though it's not out yet. But what's yours, Ian?
I was having a tough time. Oh, well, Troy, do you have a book or is it the same?
Well, I'm going to go with You Deserve to Be Rich as well for the number of reasons that Rashad just said. But one of the things I want to stress with people, especially coming from the world of education, and it's not stressed enough, is yes, reading for retention, but having endurance. Like that, this is a real thing. Like if you've ever read and like within the first 10 minutes, you're like tired and falling asleep.
You're exhausted. Yep.
You haven't gained the endurance to read yet. And so the only way to combat that is to continue to read. Yeah. And so, I mean, I am a victim of that. Like growing up, it would be like, 5 minutes, I can't read this anymore, I'm done. Until you realize that, wait, the only way to make that better is to actually do the practice of it. And it doesn't necessarily matter, hey, I'm not reading this piece of literature. It could be me reading a newspaper, it could be reading a magazine. All these things are reps. And so, like you said, as we're doing the audiobook, it's like that endurance is now there. Cause it's like, all right, well, we got to make sure we don't miss a word. We got to make sure we add enthusiasm to it. We got to make sure every punctuation is there. And then again, everybody should find themselves inside the characters in this book. So yeah, it's a unique take in the world of financial literature, and it's from unique voices, right? For so long, the voices of the books that we've read haven't been us. So this is a unique time to be a part of that and create history, man.
But I will say this: sometimes, no matter how much you try to do something, it's not gonna work as far as like reading. So this is important because people get frustrated. You know, some people have different styles of learning. In schools, they classify some people as like having IEPs, and but it's not necessarily that they're not able to learn. They just learn differently than other people. So it's like sometimes like it's like athletics, right? Like you'll tell somebody like, you'll pick your knees up, you got to run faster, but the person is not a fast person. So, but they can still be valuable on the court, but their skill set might just be shooting, spot shooter, right? Or rebounding, but it's like, if you try to make somebody into Chris Paul, only thing that they're going to do is just get frustrated, and that's discouraging. So I say that to say, reading is definitely important, but it's not the only way to learn. That's why audiobooks are important. So sometimes, no matter how much you try to read, some people are dyslexic, right? Like they read things backwards. So reading is not for everybody. And I know I'm gonna get killed for saying that, but it's true. There's other ways to learn. And that's the beautiful thing about audio. Whether you listen to something in audio or you read it, it's the same information. Some people retain things better listening somebody else say it as opposed to reading it themselves. They might read it their whole book and not remember anything. It's not because they didn't try hard, but just how their brain is wired. Those words after a while start to look like jumbo, and it doesn't register with them. But that's important because a lot of people failed school and dropped out of school and potentially went down a whole different life path because they didn't figure that out and they just thought that they were stupid. So I encourage everybody to, even if you don't read a book, that's okay. If you don't read any books in life, that's okay. But you can still retain information, whether it's through audio books or whether it's through podcasts, YouTube, watching the news, visually watching something, audio, listening to something. So you should read it if you're interested in reading it. But if you're not, then listen to the audio version of that.
Yeah, I think auditory is important, right? If you remember going back to school, and y'all taking me back to elementary now, like when they're in an ESL class, right? They give you the headphones and they give you the book, right? So you can listen to it, but you can follow the words as well. In fact, I've actually done that a few times just for fluency and then the speed. And I think that's dope too, right? You can change the speed of how the actual audio book is being read to you, but you follow along too. Like I said, either way, you got to get in that habit of practicing it, right? Like open it.
You have to get those reps in.
It's like what kids say. You want to hide something from us? Put it in the book.
Yeah.
Even African tradition, a lot of times, that's why a lot of history is not written down, because some of the stuff they didn't really is oratory. They have oratory traditions, right? So even in ancient wisdom and understanding, some things was passed down not through written language, right? Some things was only orally communicated to people, and they had to remember. And then you had to actually remember that. That actually helped expand your brain too, because now you got to remember something that's harder because you don't have a reference point to go back to, right? So griot, that's what they was called, the griot. Now there's a news publication called the griot. Shout out to them. That's what the griot was. A griot was somebody that they didn't have anything written down. That was just the wisest person that just remembered everything. And you would go to them for the information, and then they would tell you the information because they actually remembered it. And then it was your responsibility to remember the information and then pass it down as well. So, there's so many different ways to learn, from writing to pictures, even, hieroglyphics. So it's like essentially a coloring book. If you really think about it like that, these is pictures that the Egyptians used. And that's like the first form of actually written language, but that's not words how we look at it. Like you got birds, you got an eye. These are all things that mean something, but is done differently than the actual traditional, because what Western civilization puts on you is that if you don't do this the way things that we do it, you're uncivilized or you're not intelligent. And that's why they make, native people throughout just how they dress. They make tribal people, they make these people look like savages.
Yeah.
Because they don't meet the certain standards.
You're propaganda first. Yep.
So I think that's always important for us to kind of knock down those barriers of entry, because that's something that was forced upon people, and it's really been hurtful for a lot of people because everybody doesn't fit in this box, and then you try to put every single person in one particular educational learning style or one particular way to kind of conform into society's standards, and it's hurtful, and it loses a lot of creativity in that, because you kind of shun a lot of people away, and some of those people that you're shunning away are actually some of the smartest, brilliant people.
Yeah,
who just don't fit in the traditional mindset that you would think, because we all been forced on a European, Western educational stand. Even when that we go to school, right? Like you go to school, everybody's learning the same way. Whether you're in Kenya, Ghana, Jamaica, New York, they're all the same way, right? With a desk, a teacher, a chalk. That comes from Great Britain, right? Like everybody, it can't just be one way. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's why they started to break, go to Montessori schools and this other.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes people was learning it in the forest. You just had a classroom, like, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't a traditional classroom. So it's like, why do we always got to follow one particular rule book, right? And I think that's one thing that Kanye said that made a lot of sense, as far as like, he just goes off the rail a lot of times, but his way of kind of like, nah, I'm not doing no education. My life is education. Like this is education. Like, you know what I mean? Like it sounds crazy when he says it.
Yeah,
I understand it. I understand it. Right. So that's a more like involved conversation when we talk about education, but I think that it's important because it's really done a number of on people, because a lot of people it's hurt more people than it's actually helped, if you really think about it from that standpoint.
Did it hurt the creator of the American education system though?
Well, I'm talking about the masses of people. The masses of people.
I always want to get to the top and to the money. Everyone look in chat. Who owns the American education system and who licenses it out to other countries?
But it's not even, is it an American education system, or does it come from Great Britain?
Come from Great Britain, then a great American business magnate of the 20s.
J.D. Rockefeller. Yeah, of course.
And then
you have to make sure there's an underclass. In order for capitalism to work, there has to be majority of the people under. That's just the law
by design. We're agreeing to the same point. I'm just saying all is done by design.
Yeah, yep. For sure.
And even the destruction of our culture and the books and relics and art that we have was designed and then put into fucking Superman and Iron Man and Spider. Okay, great.
Yeah. Slaughter your ancestors. Stories can't be told. Histories can't be passed down.
Yep. And put it in our movies and IP.
Yeah, well, that's why the hieroglyphics, and even in ancient Egypt, when you see it, like this is written, right? Like people can go back and like this is the actual things that have happened. So
because you gotta be careful with some of those books too.
Yeah.
Because they give
especially with the Mandela effect bullshit they pulling off.
But they tell you like, yo, reading is your way out of, and it's true. But Nas said a great quote before. He was like, reading history, but who's the author? A lot of the deception is actually put in the book.
In the books.
So you think that reading a book is actually helping you. It's actually hurting you, because the only thing that you're reading is somebody who's purposely writing misinformation to deceive you. And that has led the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. That's why I say it's the miseducation, right? Like the miseducation.
So the miseducation of Lauryn Hill comes from the miseducation of the Negro.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. In order to disseminate it, you got to realize that what I'm reading here is not the truth, right? So you got to, that's what I'm saying, just get in the habit of actually practice. Yeah.
Trademarks. Who trademark? The trademark play. The trademark play. You gotta look at who trademarked these books.
And once you do that, it's an interesting rabbit hole to go down.
Shout out to all of them. Shout out to them. Shout out to all of them.
It's an interesting rabbit hole that you start to go down. Billy Carson.
Shout out to all of them.
Where's Billy Carson when you need him? But my fault, Ian.
No, you good. It was a good segment.
What we got?
I was torn between something new and something old, but two, given where the country is now, changing world order. Very important book to revisit by Ray Dalio. He's the first white business magnate that's a billionaire that talks about the ills of the country openly, and then it's almost written like a script for what's happening now. And then 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, former business partner of Elon Musk, arguably one of the greatest investors in startup history, but he has some political leanings as well. And when you read those two books, you can see how the country is turned into the shape that it is. And it's very fascinating to see them write these books, especially for Peter, and then how he's went on to influence the country and also Palantir. So, yeah.
Palantir, yeah.
Go read those two to pick up some wisdom. And yeah, reading this book, for everyone, if you want a short blueprint, read 2 pages a day of 5 books. You should be able to get to, like, every dude who say I don't like reading, I never hear you say that when it comes to them DMs.
But also a good thing to do is watch some documentaries too. Documentaries are very powerful.
Yeah, they can be if they're done the right way. Truthfully,
that's like What the Health and all of these documentaries.
That's a very good one.
That's part of the whole vegan
movement,
phenomenon. People actually visually saw what they was doing to these animals. It's one thing to read about it, right? But then when you can visually see
the
slaughterhouses and how they got all the chickens, like chickens is 3 times bigger than they are 1970 now. Like, and you can actually visually see the difference between a chicken 1980 and chicken in 2022. Like, so me personally, I'm a big fan of documentaries. I like documentaries a lot. So that's another way to learn. But like you said, you got to be careful because everybody has an agenda.
That's it. Yeah. That's it.
Fahrenheit 9/11, that was crazy.
Super Size Me kicked off all those documentaries.
The health documentaries, yeah.
So like
Fahrenheit 9/11 was the one that really.
And he passed away.
Michael Moore.
Michael Moore. No, not Michael Moore. The
TV timeout play commercial.
Which one?
Fahrenheit 9/11.
No. Let's stay with Super Size Me. I actually used to. That was a documentary that was inside of my health class because kids would just consume. And so when they saw that documentary, they were like, oh, Super Size Me, the McDonald's one. Yeah. Then you realize that. So then they looked at the environment that they live in and the food options in that environment. So it leads to a whole nother discussion. Like, that was an interesting one. That was a good one.
Yeah. Rashad, we got to wait 30 years.
The Fahrenheit joint. Michael Moore, man. He got delisted because he came out one more after that. He came out with What the Health, I think.
That was his. Is him?
Yeah, he had a great run of documentaries.
He came out with What the Health, but then after that he got it's over with. Delisted, completely delisted, to the point where he can't even put his name on nothing. No,
Kip Anderson did what though? Kip Anderson.
What to invade next? He did that. It was really 20.
Good night.
All right.
To Bill Maher, you go.
For real.
He Michael Moore. Where's he now?
Oh, he did Sicko too. Yeah.
Sicko. That's what he did. That's a health documentary.
Yeah. That was really good.
Guest panelist.
You can't attack the 2 biggest GDP drivers and then expect to profit.
Well, Fahrenheit 9/11, he attacked the United States government.
Mistake.
George Bush. That's when Bush was in office.
Good luck.
Cheney don't play. Cheney shot that boy in that turkey field.
Halliburton. He exposed the Halliburton play.
Tyson chicken.
Mistake.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, documentaries I think is a very good way to learn. Like the other one about social media, when they talk about Facebook and all that.
Yeah,
the Netflix joint.
Yeah, well, I got the name of it. It was that was a good one that really breaks down how these scientists really studied the same effects that drugs has on people and kind of used it for social media. And the executives knew about this for years. And
Social dilemma.
Social dilemma, yeah. That's a good one. Really puts things in perspective from the social media standpoint. So these documentaries, I'm a big fan of documentaries. I'm waiting for that Dr. Sabi documentary. Nipsey Hussle was supposed to put it out, but obviously that didn't happen. But I think Nick
is putting it out, right?
Cannon said he's going to do it, so that'll be a good one. Wait to see what happens with that.
Yeah, and shout out to Sean Paul. Speaking of documentaries,
shout out to Sean.
Yeah. The honorable Sean dropped today. He dropped today. So if you on, is it Hulu? I think it's on Hulu.
Yeah,
go check that out, man. Shout out to our bro, the honorable Jamal Barrow.
Yeah. Shout out to my guy Drew. He said he ran into y'all up there at the
Oh yeah. We was with him for a little bit. Yep.
Shout out to Sean, man. For sure, check it out. That's a very good story.
What do you feel about some of the criticism? This may be blackout, but what do you feel about some of the criticism that he's getting about speaking out against Sean with the documentary? I know Flex went crazy on him, but Flex, you got to stop, bro.
Yeah.
Do you think he's like taking advantage of the situation and trying to separate himself from?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he's doing that. But, you also look at it from a standpoint of it's hard to speak from somebody, that did 10 years in jail. So he did 10 years in jail. So I think, kind of reserve the right to criticize somebody like that, because at the end of the day, he didn't cooperate. He didn't take the stand. He didn't tell, and he could have. And these dudes nowadays, they would take the stand before they even.
Yeah,
and county ain't it, right?
Parking ticket, they get on the stand, and they doing it for free on YouTube. Yeah. So this is somebody that at 20 years old, faced his charges by himself, didn't cooperate, did his time for 10 years, then got deported for 10 years. So 20 years he was exiled for 20 years. If you look at it from that standpoint,
while on fire too. Oh my.
And reinvented himself and came back and, never cried about the situation publicly, reinvented himself and came back to America as a diplomat. So, left as a prisoner and came back on diplomatic immunity. He's a hustler.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm saying? He's a real hustler. Like, and he figured it out. And now he's trying to become prime minister of a country. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for Sean.
Yeah.
As far as him throwing Puff under the bus now because Puff's legal situation, I mean, some people might look at it like that, but like I said, I mean, that's their relationship. I can't really speak on it because it's like, only them two know their relationship.
Yeah. And I don't think he's been going crazy. I think he's told a story, but correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't heard him really talk about him. He gave me opportunity. Of course, he didn't agree with some of the court stuff, but I didn't hear him derail the way some have.
It's tough for him to tell a story without Puff being part of it, right? Like he plays a major part in his life, from making him a millionaire to being in jail to now coming back. I think the reconciliation part is people are like kind of questioning like why he would do that, but I mean he kind of explained it, right? Even in his interviews that he's done, like it was a different part of my life. It was a different part of me. I've grown. At one point, I thought this man owed me something, till I got to the point of growth where I'm like, he doesn't owe me anything. In fact, I'm praying for him because he needs peace in his life. So I can't tell him or even feel a way when he speaks about somebody that has negatively affected his life in such a way. For as much positive that it had might have been early on. I mean, you sit in jail for 8.5 years. You don't see your family. In fact, when you're fighting this case, you're fighting it by yourself. And even the lawyers are part of the documentary as well. It's tough, man. So, and that's why it's named the honorable, right? It's a double entendre. Obviously as an elected official, but being honorable on what he believed in his moral compass. Shout out to Poe.
And what do people expect, like to see him once he's released and then fight him and go back to jail?
Well, I will say
we've all been. Go ahead.
From a business standpoint, because tied in back in the market Mondays, there's a rate of return on just being a stand-up person, and it's like his reputation has carried throughout 2 decades, which actually puts him in position to not only do a documentary, but to actually potentially be a world leader and the prime minister of a country. And if he would have taken the Tekashi 6 because he's done a lot of people like, well, I'm not sitting a day in jail. I'm just going to rat and I'm just going. That's become a very popular narrative online. And it's like, it's like Little Dirk's father said, like, if you are living a lifestyle, right, you sign up for something. That's not something that you should champion to say, okay, well, fuck it, Ian, you got to go because I'm not going to jail. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we comrades in arms, that means something, right? So it's like, that's something for people to understand because it's like Tekashi 6ix9ine has no future, right? His future is always going to be just a clown. But Sean, he took a tough road, but he didn't tell on anybody. He didn't throw anybody under the bus. He didn't do any crazy antics. And 20 years later, he's still a respected person because of that. And now his life trajectory is probably going to be better than somebody that just, took the cheese and just, they saved themselves in that moment.
Yeah.
But what is their life? They have no life. Right?
And we've got to talk about how resilient he is. Yeah, to be able to come back and then go into a different lane and use the star power that he had to translate it to something else.
Yeah. It's a story. It's a story of healing. Even the relationship of his father and the role that he didn't play and now plays. His father was the prime minister of Belize.
Yep.
And so there's a story behind that as well. So I mean, it's dope, man. His mom, his whole family was there watching the film. Everybody should go support it, man.
Did Sean sign away his intellectual property or no?
I think he owned his masters when he
owned. Thank you.
When he first, when all this happened, he owned the publishing at the beginning, I believe. So that was something that was kind of unprecedented, especially for the Bad Boy artist. He was like the only one that actually had that. I think that might have been, something that Puff did for him. To be like, kind of like, whatever. But
Don Poop probably did that.
And then he signed another $1 million deal when he was in jail with Def Jam. So Sean was one of these people that was kind of making, at least it looked like he was making, business moves that made sense. Yeah. And he always was militant. Like you never seen Sean with a chain on, just by himself going to court with a fitted hat on. He wasn't doing it was a different era. Like these dudes nowadays, like I said, all this silly stuff is not like, it's just antics and semantics. And then that's why when they get put under pressure, then they just fold because that's not who they are. They're just a good person, which is fine. Just be that good person, but don't try to portray a life that you're not, because why would you do that? It's only going to lead to death or destruction. And I feel like, people still haven't learned their lesson. They use it as a marketing campaign until they realize that federal prison is real.
Feel the fury when you're on that bus.
Yeah, Sean's first album was tough too.
And 6ix9ine ratted twice. So it's like you can't rat again. Like ain't nobody to rat on no more, my boy. Like
he just caught up in some in Miami.
That's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying now you're gonna have you can't rat no more. Right?
He got a new little crew he running with. That's going. I told you that boy was in Miami, drugging girls and shit. I'm like, what is you?
Oh yeah, get out of jail free cards has expired already.
That's tough. Little boy got ran out of Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Bro, you moving too reckless. But
no country for old men.
Yeah.
All right.
Hold for the long term. Hold the assets you believe for 5 years. And if you don't, one of the biggest regrets you're going to have is not holding assets longer and putting more money into them. I know some of you had an issue with me saying, hey, put 40% of your money. Listen, I'm only giving advice to those who want to be exceptional. I know it can be tough. So if you live in check to check, I know it's tough. But but don't say that and then ask me for dating advice on blackout.
Please. Hold it for as long
10.
Because even 5 years.
It's short.
If you would have held Bitcoin for 5 years, that wouldn't have, you know what I'm saying? Like if you would have had a brownstone in Brooklyn, like hold it for 10 years, really 20, 30 years. Like that's the kind of hold it for as long as possible, really, because it's like that's the real trick. Yeah, not bad assets. That's why you only invest in the top two, because you can hold. You don't hold just nonsense. You lose all your money doing that. Sometimes if you want to flip, you flip. But like Mike Novogratz said, be careful with that because a lot of times you're just getting lucky, and that's dangerous. So
create a bad habit.
Only buy the top two, or if you want to have some leniency, 3, but that's true across any field. So
Any asset class, yeah.
If you're investing in real estate, invest in the 3 best real estate markets.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yo, 5 years ago, you know what Bitcoin was?
16. No, what was that?
$6,900.
Yeah, because then it dropped.
Yeah.
It went up to 20, then it dropped, then it's cycle.
Yeah.
So invest in the top 3 real estate markets, invest in the top 3 companies, invest in
the blueprint, y'all.
Top 3. Mike talk about top 3 cryptos if you're into crypto.
Top 3, like even in media, there's 3 main players. Everything else is damn near uninvestable.
Spirit Airlines went bankrupt, man. They said, how's that going to affect holiday travel? I'm trying to figure out who's fine Spirit.
And one thing that we have to talk about too on this Bitcoin thing, and shout out to my guy Mike. He gave me some insight as far as on a lot of these NFL contracts. There's no NFL contract in Bitcoin. Just for clarification purposes, I know there's a lot of publications now.
Talking about Mike Barnett.
Yeah, no NFL team has ever paid a player in Bitcoin. You can take your salary and put it in Bitcoin, but that's different. So even like Odell, like when he said like he received his payment in Bitcoin, I think some of that might have been marketing. Even like when you see Drake, at some point we got to have a deep dive into this
about the stake
marketing
online gambling situation because how much money is Drake getting paid to post
just
on Instagram
money off,
that
right?
I think
somebody's doing it. And shout out to Greg Barnett. Yeah, he will be a conversation because he was like, you got to explain to the people. I'm like, yeah, well, that's not how it works. Those guys, and even Odell, they had a deal with Cash App. So Cash App, you can trade Bitcoin. So like a lot of those guys always look at who the mediator is. So like if Cash App does a deal with Odell, or if he did it with Saquon, like I said, people are not talking about Saquon's contract, but like he actually had more money put into Bitcoin than all those guys.
He did.
Right? He put I think a $6 million endorsement deal, and he had a deal with Cash App. You put it in Cash App, they invested in you. Now it sits there. So no team, like you said, no team is saying, all right, here's your contract in Bitcoin. That's not happening. In fact, he said the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to have the NFL come down and create regulation around that. So there's a mediator usually between a player or an athlete, any league. The mediator is whoever the organization is. Tom Brady, I know he got away with that, but like he did a deal with FTX. Right, Khaled and Kim Kardashian, they were doing deals as marketing for crypto. They had no idea about just using their name and likeness behind it. They caught lawsuits over that. So be mindful of these things.
Yeah. And the online gambling situation, billions of dollars have been targeted
to our community,
specifically to the Black community.
Yep.
And it's worked. I know firsthand when I saw online gambling 5 years ago. Shout out to my man Larry. He won big, and it wasn't as big as it is now, nowhere near as big as it is now. So I actually watched the growth happen over the course of time, and it was strategically done. They have Joe Budden podcast. They have Cameron Mace's podcast. They have Gillian Wallow's podcast. They have Shannon Sharp's podcast. I mean, you name it, right? They have Gilbert Arenas' podcast. So it's like, man, they have Drake as a brand ambassador. Like, people don't even realize what's happening because they just like, oh, Drake lost $350,000. He got probably $100 million contract
easily,
and it's worked. And it's
Barstool.
It's one thing. Like even I was talking to my cousin, and a few people in jail have told me this. Shout out to my guy Alvarez. Actually, I'm gonna be an honoree on Wednesday. But long story short, with United 914, there's a few things that you stay away from in jail. Few things I won't name, but one thing in particular that they all said is gambling. Don't gamble in jail because you want. You know why? The reason why I say don't gamble, because you're going to lose, and if you're going to lose, you could potentially get killed. So to stay away from it, just don't gamble. I say that to say this gambling thing is a losing game. It ruins lives. That's a fact. Like it ruins people's lives. It causes households to break up. It causes people to go into debt. It causes people to do irrational things. It's just like drinking alcohol. It's the same thing. Like you drinking too much alcohol. If you ever know alcoholics, it doesn't end well. The alcohol thing doesn't end well for people. It's like drugs. And this gambling thing is not helpful. It's not. And I'm like, even Jaywan has said it, like that was insightful for him to say, like, yo, like it can humble you. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna lose. Majority of people that gamble is gonna lose. It's targeted to black people, and they made billions of dollars off of it. And at some point in time, you gotta have an investigation on this. Like it's the same thing. It's the same thing that happens every 50 years. Previously, it was the lottery. That was the thing that was targeted to black. It was like I see my grandmother spent probably hundreds of thousands of dollars. These are poor people that spending $10, $15 with the hope that they're going to hit $10, $15 million over the course of their lifetime. If they would have invested that money, they'd be millionaires.
Back to colonization.
It just gets reincarnated, but it's always targeted. They call it the poor tax. It's targeted to the most vulnerable population. I said this years ago. Rich people teach their kids about stocks. Poor people teach their kids how to gamble. So it's like everybody knows how to play CeeLo and Tonk and all of these card games, and now they know how to do over/under parlays, but they still don't know about how to invest in real estate or how to buy stocks. That's a problem. But we look at it as like it's entertainment. It's really dangerous, and it's something that is harmful. It's really harmful for the black community. And sometimes, at some point in time, we got to have a real conversation because it's only white people that's making money from this at the highest level. All these companies are owned by white people, and they only targeted. The majority of the people that they targeted is poor, uneducated black people.
Well, and this is the reason why. And everybody that's watching this show right now, from the beginning, when I told you about the portfolio, what was the company that I said that y'all should invest in?
Yep, Draft.
The writing was on the wall. In fact, shout out to Larry. And I know you brought up LG.
He's a legend.
Larry actually lost his mom last week, so rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Rest
in peace to his mom and the entire Grant family. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, my brother. But yeah, me and we were doing that. We was in FanDuel, so we was in DraftKings. We was making money, not lots of money, but no. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. We were making money. In fact, it was the same way I would be studying. Like I'm obsessed with sport. And so like I'm doing that. I'm winning money, but it's not like substantial money. He got to a point where he was betting real money and making substantial money. I've never seen a 2-week, 3-week run like he had. It was incredible. But I started thinking like, wait, if we're at this level and this thing isn't even legal in every state, right? There was times when me and my boy were called to Vegas, like, yo, can you put this placement in, like because his sister lived out there, or New York didn't have it legal, so we'd have to go like, yo, somebody go to Greenwich to put this placement in for us. When it started to get to that level, I'm like, oh, we're onto something.
Yep.
I said DraftKings. If you look at DraftKings, how it's performed during the pandemic, since the pandemic, that's not going anywhere. The other one, and at the time it was FanDuel. But in order to know FanDuel, you got to figure out who owns FanDuel. So Flutter was the other company. Look at what Flutter has done over the past 2 years. That like this isn't slowing down. So like, yes, if you're gonna do that, and yes, I feel it's predatory. Like it's obvious, right? I'm watching Bill Belichick, and then I see Joe Button in the commercial, and Cam in the commercial. I'm like, damn, this is okay. I get it. But now as you run down the list of all that, I'm like, damn, this is really something. How do you combat that? Invest in that side. Or if that's against your moral compass, don't. But look at it from macro, micro. We got to figure it out.
The assets that are most important to invest in are always going to be marketed as the most boring: stock, real estate, private equity, government contracts. The things that are most exciting: music industry, pornography, drugs, gambling will seem exciting but pay a smaller dividend in aggregate. Always. And a lot of these games were taken out of our community and then whitewashed and then sold back to us.
That's why you got to be disruptive. You got to create a show where people actually realize that they can make money other ways. You got to be disruptive.
Yeah.
Disrupt the whole thing.
So Prize Picks ain't, when we run into them.
Let's say Market Mondays sponsored by Prize Pick.
So we said all that just to say like, yo, what's up? Why y'all ain't calling us?
New ad.
Nah, but
Joseph would have got the Ferrari. I said you couldn't have plugged
bro, I got picks.
Come on.
I got picks. Trust me.
Come on.
But on a serious note, I don't agree with it. I just feel like it's it's one of these things, right? Like, it's hard to tell somebody not to get paid.
Yeah.
Like, what's that got to do with me? Like, I'm getting paid. But I just know that it's harmful.
That's skill.
I know that it's really hurting people. Like, that's the part that nobody talks about. Like, it's hurting people.
Mm-hmm.
we just had a situation. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's it's really hurting people.
Yeah.
You know, and it's nobody. I've never heard nobody talk about it. I never heard nobody talking about the dark side of gambling.
The dark side of it. Ooh,
it's a dark side of gambling.
It's a wicked addiction.
Yeah.
I see that happen firsthand. Outside of like the things that we do on a professional level, like personally, like inside family, like it can ruin.
And when they fall, that fall after that bag is made, and it goes back to you gotta have those
because you're trying to get it back
in place. Yeah.
How I get it back? What's the fastest way?
A lot of these drawdown rules in investing came from gambling.
And I'll tell you this, like, you know, gambling is a losing game. Alcohol is a losing game. Drugs is a losing game. Chasing women is a losing game.
Losing game, bro.
Look how many people we've seen at the highest level. Their fall was women, one way or another. I'm not saying that in that regard. I'm just saying that's because they
over-indexed
insatiable appetites, right? That was never checked, and that's not sustainable. Long term, you're going to get jammed up. One way, you're going to get a lawsuit, or you're going to get child support payments. It's not sustainable. Don't exceed the limits. Don't exceed the limits.
Well, what's the limit?
Every man has their own limits, but
I don't know. One.
Don't exceed the
one. What's the limit? What's the limit?
The limits.
What's the limit?
You know what I'm saying? But,
every man for himself.
We'll talk about them blackout.
Thank you, please.
But this is a financial topic, right?
It is.
I'm not telling you not to gamble. I'm not telling you not to drink alcohol. I'm not telling you not to smoke weed. I'm just saying that be mindful because too much of these things are hurtful. Too much of these things are really hurtful for you. And these are ultimately very dangerous games that people lose a lot in these games. And it's a financial conversation because it's like you can lose a lot of money doing this stuff. And it's like this is the money that you could be using to actually invest. You saying you don't got no money to invest? I met somebody that he told me he gambled. He had $40,000
I hear it.
in debt from gambling last year. So I'm like, $40,000.
And after you fucked up the options bag 2 years prior.
The average person, if the average person is making $50,000, how you have $40,000 in debt?
Yeah,
and that's your girlfriend if she left you, man.
That's when it gets nasty because you try to take those habits and those, I guess, what you thought were disciplines into different areas, right? So like the mentality that you had in gambling, whether it be in sports or cards, you try to take that into the market, and it ain't gonna pan out. It's just not gonna pan out.
And that's why it's a discipline. How you do one thing is how you do everything. That's how I tell my son, and that's why in life, like if you study like Asian culture, they're very patient people, and they're very like mild-mannered. Like that's important. Like doing the same thing. I saw somebody talking about like LeBron. He's like he does the same thing every single day. Doing the same thing every single day. Waking up, doing your job, investing. Like that's important to be.
That's why he is where he is.
Yeah, when you're a gambler, you work on peaks and valleys. It's like somebody sniffing coke, right? Like you just so erratic in your behavior, and that's not good to make money. Like the people that really understand money, like Warren Buffett, they chill, like they calm. They're not erratic. Not erratic people. Like that's just going to just do random dumb shit. And when you do that, that's a gambler's mentality. And when you bring that into the stock market or bring that into business,
demolished.
You're gonna hurt yourself.
Yep.
All right.
But what do we know? We're not hating on those who hit your parlay. But I'm just being real.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, James Harden, Thursday, 6 o'clock.
Be a good one.
Eastern Standard Time. $500 million man. Oh man,
that was that.
Blackout. We can talk about his other career.
We asked him about Mike Rubin.
Fact.
Did you? Oh, okay.
The white party.
And 500 might be. That might have been the last one.
Low.
That was
at least 500 million.
Low.
He on his way to $1 billion. Yeah, he invested in that energy drink company that Kobe did.
Yeah, Body Armor.
Yeah.
Just because Kobe was like, yo, you should do it. But you know what? And we talked about his placement historically in the NBA. It's a good conversation, but I feel like ever since he left Houston, the Brooklyn situation, and now it's like his career has kind of been slept on. But if you look at statistically what he's done throughout his career, man,
you go look at the actual numbers and cover up his name.
He has more threes than Ray Allen. He's the second most. He has the second most 3-pointers in NBA history. He has more 3-pointers made than Ray Allen and Reggie.
Houston run the
different time, but still that's ridiculous.
But to be able to do that off the dribble,
get to the basket, shoot 12 free throws
when everybody know you're going to shoot. Oh my!
Should have won 2 or 3 MVPs. Got one.
Yeah, he got robbed in one of them. Yeah.
Giannis got one of them. They could have split that.
Yeah. Blackout on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We got a lot to talk about.
Tap in.
Yeah, so the dark side of gambling. That's a great topic, though.
The dark side of gambling. Somebody's got to talk about it.
Yeah,
somebody's got to say it.
Hey, we got
a bookie. Pay your money.
Your mom's is the bookie. No, how'd that go?
All right, guys.
No, we got a birthday. We got a birthday. One of the youngest members of the EYL family. His birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday to Legend McDonald.
Hey, what? Time flies.
Crazy, right? Happy birthday to the young man. Jess, Mike, obviously, I mean, you got one of the most handsome kids I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So shout out to Jessica, because Mike ain't really helped. Shout out to Mike, man. Just a beautiful family, and obviously with your newborn, it's incredible to watch. So happy birthday to Legend, man.
Happy birthday, for sure. Vitally important. All right, guys.
Is
NVIDIA the new Enron or no?
Blackout.
Yo, November 20th, man. It's here. And then Thursday, we'll see y'all. Wednesday, we see y'all for Blackout. Thursday for the class, and obviously UIL episode. Yeah, special guest this week in the class.
Yeah, Stock Club call this Wednesday. This is gonna be a great week. I'll say that.